Thank you all for your attention and for being here. It's good to see everyone. We're gonna start with handing it over to Danielle.
Okay.
New script.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. A few quick notes for the members of the public who are joining via the computer, device, or phone. Please be advised that you have been muted. Commissioners, as a panelist, you can mute or unmute your video and mic at your discretion, but please mute yourself when you are not speaking to avoid any feedback or background noise. If you wish to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting, please raise your virtual hand now to join the speaker's queue. We will lower hands as speakers are called upon. When the public comment begins, we will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak, after which your microphone will again be muted. Regarding the chat and Q&A functionality of Zoom, please note that attendees will not be able to use these features. Commissioners, please do not use the chat function for any other purpose other than technological assistance. Lastly, this meeting will be recorded and posted to the Sustainability Commission website. If there is testimony you were not able to provide or wish to get to us in a different format, feel free to contact the Sustainability Commission.
Thank you. Typically we have our land acknowledgements, but Courtney isn't here.
She sent it and Jan is going to read it.
Oh, excellent. Thank you,
I'm
Jan.
just standing in here for Courtney. She wrote some comments about these things. She did all the research, so don't ask me questions because
Okay.
On February 9th, the University of Oregon Department of History will hold a lecture at World Pies as part of their regular Buck Talk series. The talk, led by Naomi Sussman, is titled "The Indians Are a Nation" and explores indigenous self-determination in the early 20th century, offering historical context and learning about how sovereignty and leadership have been asserted and defended over time. The talk starts at 7 p.m. and the feedback is amazing. Another reminder is of the ongoing local community asset in the University of Oregon's Museum of Natural and Cultural History. While we might not all be members, they offer free First Fridays each month to all members of the public and host permanent displays honoring our Indigenous history and leaders. The museum hours are typically 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and February's First Friday will be on February 6th. As we approach the February 16th federal holiday, and this is in her words here, I note in my exploration finding that the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde take this moment to recognize their leadership through Chiefs Day. It reminded me that long before the current systems we know today, long before how governance looks now, or how leadership principles are promoted, the Indigenous communities embodied leadership principles rooted in the authentic responsibility of service, care for people, and relationship to place. And while that's not a surprise at all, it feels like an increasingly important mindset in today's world as we engage others and work to do the meaningful work we're empowered to do because of those who came and led before us.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Courtney. That was beautiful. Yeah. Out there. Okay. So that is very exciting. I look forward to checking that out. And no questions on that as we were.
Those links are on the agenda, of course.
Okay, yeah. So our action item is going to be.
Wait, before that, Jan, did you want to see about switching?
Chris, would you realize I have a conflict that might meet me late to the next month's meeting? Would you be willing to switch February and March?
I normally would, but I might be I'm gonna be on a plane on Tuesday.
All right, I can make it work. All right.
I can switch with you. Want to switch
Oh, okay, sure.
February and April?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Emily will do February and Jan will do April.
Thank you. Okay, so we'd like to, is there a motion to review and approve November meeting minutes?
I so move.
A second. Jan. Any comments or questions about that? Okay, all in favor? Oh, I'm gonna abstain, so no. Okay. And a motion to approve this agenda.
I also wasn't at the meeting, so I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Do you mean the agenda for today?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for today.
I'll move to approve this.
And do I, a second, okay, all in favor? Okay, so we'll move on to the public comment and commissioner response section. Okay. Does it look like to be happening? Anyone here? Nope, okay. That was easy. Okay, so I guess we'll just move forward in welcoming, Donnie and Emily from the city of Eugene, who will be presenting the Recycling Modernization Act presentation for this evening. Thanks for being here, both of you. We need
For having
to.
us.
Yeah, I can just kind of state a little bit more. So the goal of their presentation today is to share a brief update on the RMA. Discuss the goals of it and how implementation is going, and they'd like to have a discussion about how to more effectively spread the word, where to focus funding, and where to locate some recycling depots. So I'll let them go off of that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us here. This is my second year working for the city of Eugene and my second time talking to this commission. So last time was virtual, so this is kind of cool to see everybody in person. My name is Donnie Addison. I'm the AIC program manager. It's acting in capacity for the waste prevention program for the city of Eugene.
I'm Emily Cracklow. I'm the RMA management analyst, so this is my full job right here.
Wow.
If you have questions at the end, I will probably be the person you guys should talk to on this. This is my first year with the city and my first time speaking to y'all, so excited to be here.
But y'all, should we stand or sit or what usually happens?
Typically people sit,
Okay.
but you can stand if you want to.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to be like,
I was just fine with it. Just stand.
cool, all right.
Yeah.
Let's get going.
So diving into it, we have to kind of look at the context of recycling in Oregon to really understand the RMA. So since recycling was a thing here, access to it has been pretty patchwork, and that's led to a lot of confusion on what can be recycled, and it has led to a lot of equity issues as well. Flash forward to 2017, when China's national sword policy essentially overnight cut us off to a ton of our end markets for our recyclables. So we lost the ability to recycle things like milk cartons. So after that, the recycling steering committee was formed by DEQ to figure out what the state of recycling was going to be like in Oregon. And then that steering committee helped lawmakers pass SB 582, which we now fondly call the RMA, or the Recycling Modernization Act, in 2021.
Yeah, so this act requires producers of plastic and paper packaging to pay for and participate in an environmental stewardship program or recycling EPR, so extended producer responsibility. So the manufacturers of the goods we consume that are plastic and paper packaging are now paying lots of money to the state, and that money is essentially being distributed. Funding streams for local governments, service providers, to expand, unify, and increase the recycling market and services across the state. So it gives authority to oversee the implementation of the producer responsibility organization. So that's the PRO, and we'll get into that organization's role in a minute. There's a statewide goal of 7% by 2050 for plastics. So increasing plastic recycling by 70%. There's the law established the ORSAC, which is the Oregon Recycling System Advisory Council. It also created a truth in labeling task force to improve the transparency of recycling and packaging labeling. And then it established a mirror grant fund to essentially provide waste prevention opportunities for the covered products under the law.
So one of the big players in any type of EPR legislation is the Producer Responsibility Organization. This is the entity that will be in charge of wrangling all the producers. So they collect fee dollars and then they distribute them out. For us here in Oregon, our pro is Circular Action Alliance, CAA. They are the only pro who submitted a plan for us, so they will be ours. They have a long history of running EPO programs in other states, including Colorado, California, Maryland, Minnesota, and now us in Oregon, and they're also eyeing Washington's legislation similar to that. They have a couple of big responsibilities we'll dig into in a little bit here, but their main role is being that funding mechanism for distribution of all this collective fee dollars.
Yeah, so the guiding documents of this, of the Recycling Modernization Act is the SB 582 bill that was passed. In turn, the ORS, or the Oregon Revised Statute, kind of like laid out the specific rules based upon that bill. And then from there, CAA developed a plan on how that statute was going to be implemented. And that plan was approved, and the RMA kicked off in July of last year, July 1st.
I like to use the analogy that it's like building a house. The bill text is the foundation, the rules are the bones of it, and then the pro plan is all the finishings for it. So they all have to work together to make this cohesive product. They all do very different things for it too. So this is our new recycling system here in Oregon. We start with producers who pay their fees to the Producer Responsibility Organization. The pro then distributes those fees to help fund the collection of our statewide recycling list, expand access to recycling services, and provide dollars for education and contamination reduction activities. After those materials are collected, they're sent to material processing. After that, they go to responsible end markets, and then the cycle loops back around where those are turned into new products and sold by producers.
Yeah, so curbside recycling and really statewide, this unified statewide collection list is kind of our new kind of North Star for what we can put in the recycling bin. So hopefully all of you received something from us in the mail. We have lots of magnets too. We can make connections with Danielle to get those out for y'all to have and distribute if needed. But yeah, some communities are still in transition. We're fortunate to be on top of things here in Eugene, and I would say most of your large cities in the I-5 corridor are kind of in line with this right now. But as you split west and east, you get into more rural parts of the state where maybe recycling wasn't even collected. There's a lot of work being done to get funding to those small towns and cities to get infrastructure, get trucks, get collection bins, get educational materials, and start that work. Not every city has a waste prevention program. So a lot of cities are relying on their local haulers to do this work as well as do all the operational work. So it's quite a uplift to get everybody involved, but this list should be pretty stable until the end of 2027 when we'll see the next program plan presented. And at that point, we could see some new materials onboarded to this list to essentially add to what we can recycle.
The materials on this list have also been picked very carefully. They have to go through some pretty rigorous testing processes to show that they're actually viable for a curbside mix, and that collection doesn't have more environmental impacts than just throwing it in the garbage. So that's why we don't see some things like foil and aerosol containers, because those aren't necessarily suited to being collected at your curb. They are currently running a pilot in the Portland metro area to see if those materials will perform to the standards they're expecting. So it's possible those will be some of the items you might see on this list in 2027 or moving forward. So on to funding. As we said before, there is a ton of dollars from this program. There's a lot of different streams. A couple of them that we're going to focus on is mainly going to be the, excuse me, contamination reduction funding. But a couple of others are system expansion. So that's things like getting trucks to curbside service, expanding your reload facilities, all the stuff that you need infrastructurally to have a recycling program. Haulers and reload facilities are also eligible for transportation reimbursement if that was a barrier to them having a collection program, just because they would have to transport the material far away from where it's collected. They now have a mechanism for being funded for that work to happen. The law also requires all of new roll carts purchased in Oregon to have at least 10% post-consumer recycled content in them, so there's funding for that as well. Stuff to get depots, both for the USCL materials and then pro materials, which we'll touch on in a little bit. And then a couple of additional streams that aren't necessarily in the letter of the law is a glass incentive for us to continue having curbside glass collection. And then, as Donnie mentioned earlier, there's funding for that MIRROR grant program where it'll fund waste prevention and reuse initiatives.
So contamination reduction is an element of this program plan and the law, and it is giving each city $3 per capita to implement contamination and reduction efforts in their city or jurisdiction. And the intent of this is to clean up the recycling streams, get things that people might be wish cycling or putting in there thinking it's recycling, and getting information, education to them so that those items no longer go in there, and we get a cleaner stream of material that will flow through the system much easier. So the jurisdiction has designated these funds, and then in turn, we can allocate those funds to our licensed haulers and to nonprofit organizations, so that they can essentially help us in this work to clean up the recycling stream. DEQ has approved elements within this contamination reduction funding, and so we have to kind of meet a series of elements to show how we're using these funds, and to show how we're in alignment with each element. We have the ability to essentially go outside and do something slightly different, but that is it has to be approved by DEQ in order to essentially do something that's not on their approved list of kind of elements to use this money for. So some examples of how you can use this funding is mailers, cart tags, cameras on trucks. So that would be like cameras that would capture images of things that shouldn't be in there, and let the resident know that they're there was something in their bin that morning that shouldn't have been in. Signage, technical assistance, standardizing lids and colors for lids, and doing media campaigns to kind of showcase items that should go in the recycling bin.
And a quick note on this, DEQ, to give us a little bit more structure, has come up with two main statewide goals for these programs. The first one is reducing our high-risk contaminants to 0% in our waste stream. So those are things like sharps, batteries, tanglers, household hazardous waste, anything that would pose a direct harm to workers on the line or to the infrastructure itself. The second goal is to have 10% overall contamination rate statewide. So all contamination is bad, of course, but some contaminants are much worse, and that's why DEQ has structured the goals with that order of preference. For example, putting a lithium battery in your recycling that can potentially catch on fire versus a frozen dinner packaging. One of those is much worse, even though they're both contaminants. So DEQ is just having us focus on one rather than the other while still working towards that overall goal.
Yeah, so the Circular Action Alliance, or the PRO, is also doing a statewide campaign that's you might have seen billboards in town or driving, through the state. It's being done in both English and Spanish. CAA has really transcreated a lot of this material into 12 different languages, but for this campaign, the two English and Spanish are the ones they're focusing on. And so a lot of this recycling on logo, you'll see on some of the collateral that we have as well, as it's being funded through this work. So that's kind of a logo that you're gonna start seeing a lot more in the area.
And so the whole Recycle On campaign is really about marketing the recycling lifestyle because it's statewide and we're still pretty patchwork in our access to recycling because this is the first year of implementation. Most of these campaigns have been focused on just getting the word out that change is coming. But they do have a suite of more focused content that we have heavily utilized ourselves to really get the word out on the new materials that are being collected. One note too, the Recycle On brand, because CAA is the pro in a bunch of different states, you'll probably see that moving forward. That's why we're Recycle On Oregon. They're working on Recycle On California, Recycle On Maryland, all that good stuff. So as EPR laws become more common, you might see this in other places too. I included a brief video if you guys wanted to see an example of some of the ads.
Yeah, sure.
See if you can find it.
Recycle like living. That's why recycling companies, governments, and brands all join together.
Yeah, and so for.
Oh, just because you unmuted for the video.
Is that better? Okay. I was like, what's up? Alright, so this is just like a little overview of what we're working on and what we have worked on as far as outreach. We've been doing a lot of tabling this past year at community events such as Asian Festival and Pride, just to kind of be there along with our other city of Eugene departments to spin our wheel of RMA and learn about this law and educate Eugenians on what this means, what you can put in the recycling bin. There's a lot of people that care about this and have a lot of questions around, are certain materials acceptable or not? So
We've had people like bring bags of recycling to us to ask questions about it, so people really are interested in this.
yeah, I would say, one of the things we started before the launch in July 1st of last year was, we wanted to make sure that our school districts had, the right signage that kind of matched the look and feel of other signage within the school districts already. And so the poster you see here was designed by, junior, senior level students in 4J, design studio right down the street here. We were able to work with them, give them access to all of the CAA collateral, so that's where they got the imagery, and they also came up in talking amongst themselves of other images of materials that they see in their school waste stream that could be included on the sign. It's a bilingual sign, has a QR code, for more information. And, it was a really cool collaboration working with them. And, both Bethel and 4J now have access to these signs. We've done a social media campaign, done some advertisement, within news outlets and sent the citywide mailer out. And we're partnering with our haulers, U of O, bring St. Vincent de Paul, to kind of do our first round of contamination reduction work. And so each of those entities are, either some of the haulers are getting AI cameras on their trucks to get, to capture contaminants and get that feedback to residents. Where Bring is doing a lot of outreach to the business community to kind of educate them on how the law is impacting their work. U of O's obviously working with their student body to get word out about RMA and contamination and specifically residential halls. And then St. Vincent de Paul is working with their multifamily unit properties and also kind of helping develop some tools for multifamily properties in general, get the word out there.
So that's all we had on the RMA until we have our discussion later. We did get a couple of questions from you that you wanted to hear from us on. So the first one was on the state of mandatory food waste recycling in Oregon. We currently don't have any legislation in place requiring it. We do have our Love Food Not Waste program here in Eugene. Last year during the legislative session, there was a bill floated around looking at making food waste disposal mandatory, but it didn't really have the legs to make it, so it's currently not in the next session to go forward. And then the requirements of recycling food items with expired dates. So there's a federal law in place that allows you to donate food that doesn't show sign of spoilage or unsafe characteristics, as long as you're donating it in good faith, thinking that you would eat it yourself if you could. You're protected and you can donate it if you would like to. Places for accepting unused or past expiration date medications. We don't know of anything like that. Expired medications can go to most pharmacies in the area if you're looking for disposal. And then recycling and disposal of motor oil, that can be collected by your haulers on an on-call basis. It is written in our AO, so it's a service they have to offer. Most auto supply stores will also take that for you with their disposal costs factored in. And then finally, recycling and safe disposal of batteries. First and foremost, we recommend you go to Glenwood's Household Hazardous Waste Facility. For the most part, it will be a free service to you because we pay into that system just with our garbage fees. If you have a ton of them, it's possible you will be charged just because there's a limit to how much they can take. You can take alkaline and lithium batteries there. And then there's also several depot type locations across the city that you can look at that we hopefully linked on that QR code because it was more than we could list.
There is currently, we forgot to include this in the packet that we sent out last week, but there is currently a bill in the short session for battery EPR. And it's been brought up by Metro and Lane County.
Battery what?
Battery extended producer responsibility. So this law that we just talked about is recycling extended producer responsibility for plastic and food packaging, paper and food packaging. this EPR law would be for batteries. Specifically focused on lithium rechargeable batteries. And again, it would be putting the producers of those batteries responsible for paying for a system to collect them in the state and establishing that infrastructure and collection system. The intent is to make it easier for residents to access battery recycling. And so that legislation was proposed last year. It was pushed to Ways and Means and kind of buried amongst other bills. And this new short session, they didn't change anything in the legislation and have shown a pathway for funding through the EPR system. So they're pretty confident in its passing, but that is something if you are wanting to do any advocacy at the state level to kind of get word. I know the city council has approved this legislation and backed it. And we're working on getting our logo on some of the fact sheets associated that are kind of being circulated and marketed. But it would be another good step in the right direction as far as providing safety first and foremost to the folks that are on the front line collecting waste in the community and processing it, keeping them safe, and because these batteries can cause fires.
All right, we had a couple of discussion questions for y'all. We can take them in any order. I'm not sure if you guys have thoughts and opinions you want to share with us, but as Danielle mentioned earlier, our three main topics are on effective education and outreach, that MERA grant funding, and then expanding recycling depots in Eugene, where they should be cited for the maximum impact.
Do we want to start just with the first one?
Sure.
Okay. So the question is, where are we getting our information and disseminating it, right?
Yeah, how we can be more effective at spreading the word on the RMA. We have done a lot of work in our opinion to spread it, but we still get people from the public saying, why haven't I heard about this before? So if you guys have ideas on how to keep that from happening, we would love to hear it.
So a mailer, oh, sorry,
Do you want them
Oh.
to call or do you want to call? Oh, you want to do it?
you guys can call. Do you have?
We do this.
Okay, Devin's out, she's done.
Yeah. No, so I used to be, people get tired of hearing this. I used to be the chair of Southeast Neighbors Board. And I started a committee there, that we called the Environmental Stewardship Committee. And one of our goals, and this is going back a few years, was like to keep on top of the RMA and follow it through all the process that was happening through the DEQ. And we had like one person who just would check on it like once a month and then report back to everybody, because and then the reason I'm saying this is that was a great venue. We found neighbors want to know about what they can put in. So to your point, over and over and over. I mean, it's always a topic that they want to hear about at the meetings. So we were trying to stay on top of that for them and provide as much stuff. And we used to have a newsletter. We put like a little like summary that we would just create ourselves. So yeah, I would say reach out to all the active neighborhood associations. Some of them have digital newsletters.
Right,
Nobody has a budget anymore for paper newsletters,
yeah,
unfortunately. But it's kind of a good thing in a way. But yeah, I would definitely get things out to them. Come and, ask when you could present at their general meetings, because they usually have multiple general meetings a year. They also, some of the neighborhood associations have picnics. And you can table.
yeah,
Parks and open space, always tables, there's a lot of people tabling. We table, you could join us, but I really think like if you had an actual person there giving talk about the RMA, talk about the new rules and stuff like that, I think it would go really far. Also stickers this is the other thing, stickers for the bin. Like magnets only go so far, because when like magnets don't actually stick on my refrigerator and all the bins are plastic.
yeah,
So you can't put a magnet on the bin. I'm always like wondering, like, so this is totally anecdotal, like my husband just wants to see the sticker on the bin when he's like deciding what's going to go in, right? Like he just leaves it like right there.
And Devin, when you say the bin, are you thinking about the bin that's like in your kitchen or the bin
The
that's like
outside
the
bin.
outside bin, the roll cart?
The roll cart, yeah,
Great.
like that really last minute.
Yeah.
Like when you send your kids out to put some stuff, go put the whatever out in the bin and they're just like. You know, I just feel like and we've gotten a lot of feedback at the neighborhood associations that people want. Outdoor bin labeling.
Yeah.
Is that like something everybody?
We've given those out at neighborhood potlucks.
Yeah.
When I've tabled
Cool.
for this commission. We've given out like to go on the underside of a bin.
It's a good idea. We have something in the works similar to that, more focused on contamination, but we're working on expanding our suite of collateral, so that's a great.
I actually printed that out and stuck it on my in-house bin, because
Yeah.
I know that stuff, but my other family members need to be reminded.
Right.
Positing it into the bin.
Yeah.
So some of our haulers have switched out their lids, so the top has an imprint of the USCL. Is it more helpful if we have a sticker to go on the inside, so once you flip the lid, you see it as you're deciding, or just have it be on the top of the lid? That makes sense.
Specifically, where do you want?
Yeah.
Can't speak for everyone. But I would say the way my household is, because I don't have a bin that you can stick something on in the house, like it's a drawer thing. Like on the lid, like before, like where they're like line of sight, is like
Yeah.
looking at the bin, like, is this the recycling bin or is this the garbage bin? I mean, there's even some of that, and the haulers having opposite colors is a big problem in my house. Like,
Yeah.
because we had one and then we switched, and ever since then, like, everyone doesn't seem to be able to let me figure it out. And this is if this is happening in my house where I'm talking about it all the time.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge issue.
It's a thing, so I maybe, I don't know what. Getting the haulers to standardize the colors and not actually having opposite, like, that's really like, it could be pink or whatever, but. Having Apex and Sand and Pack have reverse is just like, I don't get that.
It's high on our priority list to work on that. We realize that there needs to be a nice runway for them to kind of transition fully, across the city for all the carts, because these carts typically have anywhere like a 5 to 10, 15-year lifespan. But a lot of jurisdictions are moving this way. There's a pathway. We're not reinventing the wheel. This is actually something I think in this law is really kind of causing a lot of jurisdictions to talk with themselves and kind of collaborate. And so I think that we'll be able to get this going. And I think that, the haulers will be on board. As Emily mentioned, there's funding coming in for these carts, for them to buy carts. So they're not having to pay for them anymore. And so, yeah, the standardizing color is definitely a priority for us.
And standardizing them is part of those approved contamination reduction activities, so we could put some funds into that effort ourselves.
And I think the color system for us shouldn't just be curbside, it should be businesses like,
Down.
multifamily. Everywhere you look, it's a color, you know what it is.
Jan was next, and then you were.
Yeah,
and then-
I was gonna say consistency, and all these things are consistent, much as we can make things consistent, and repetition, because it may be deeply ingrained in your brains because you're dealing with it over and over and over again, but like those mailers, I think that's great, but if that's the one piece that people get, they will see it one time and toss it soon.
Put it in the recycle bin.
Yeah, so I think just trying to repeat it. I'm actually relieved to hear other people have issues in their own households, and we do too. I think the contamination is something that needs more education. Again, people that I know who say, well, it should be the hauler's responsibility. If I'm not sure about whether this should go in there or that should go in there, I'm just gonna throw it in and it should be their responsibility. So more education on not only what doesn't go in there, but why and what happens if the wrong code goes in.
So if you put stickers on the bins, which I think is the best that I've heard so far, because that's where it actually goes, right? So but what happens when things change? So you have to keep doing new stickers. So I was thinking that everybody gets an e-web bill. Maybe, I mean, I think something that's a monthly thing and it updates you, or bi-monthly, or 6 times a year. That comes in the mail, that goes to everybody. I think anything else other than into the person's hands or onto their bin is, people in my office don't know what to recycle. But I hang these things up in the kitchen and they still not recycle it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to circle back, Devin, you mentioned about the neighborhood associations, and I was able to attend, was last year, or might have been 2024, the leadership council. Just kind of-
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know of all the, but it seems like most of the active ones are showing up and kind of attending those sometimes. So that could be another venue to get the information out.
I think it's a great venue to get the information out, but also the NLC. The issue with the NLC, and it's gotten a little bit better, is that there's no. Like. They have no charter to like go back and tell. The neighborhood associations what they've heard, like some do, some don't, some listen, some aren't listening. And so there's a big disconnect between what happens in an NLC meeting and. Like it's what happens then with that information back at the neighborhood association, and that's because the NLC is its own entity. It's not city mandated or city funded or associated with the city in any way. So it's like some people want to go, or maybe they weren't there that time, or it's very like, it is a cool idea, but it isn't a great way for the city to officially get information out. The way the conduit is for the actual neighborhood associations.
So it sounds like the city staff that have that official communication to the neighborhood associations would be our conduit to kind of say, hey, we want to get this out to every neighborhood association, even if it's just like a flyer, just something simple, and
Yeah.
then
Cindy Kohler.
and then work with Cindy to let them know that if they want us to come and talk at any of their
Yeah,
meetings.
because
that-
she'll send those, she'll like blanket all of the
So
association,
we'll do that.
yeah. And go to the NLC too, I'm not saying don't, it's just
Sure,
not a
yeah.
reliable.
We'll
form.
connect with Cindy, and that's a great idea. We haven't connected with her.
Let's see, which one of you first?
Go first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we covered a couple things, right? We've been tabling, we talked about this, the bin stickers, color alignment, that was my question. Love it, please. Good luck. Godspeed. You asked specifically, I think under the bin lid last longer because it won't get weather beaten. And nothing lasts forever on a recycling bin,
Yeah.
but
Smell does.
yeah, exactly. That's, you asked for a specific answer on that. And I had a question, who has jurisdiction over multifamily building recycling? Recycling and composting services are often patchy in multifamily buildings, and Eugene has a lot of multifamily buildings.
Mhm.
And that's often where you get a lot of contamination because people aren't tracking, contamination happens from everyone, but there's probably more folks in and out that are not tracking carefully, not up on all the rules and the progress. Is there a special focus on, I guess, yeah, I'm wondering if there's like, do we have a special focus on multifamily that's done differently? How do we make sure we've actually got recycling and composting being provided to those residents?
Yeah, I mean, I would say historically that population and that housing sector has been underserved by our team for sure. Not as much information coming to them. It's hard to communicate to them. Generally speaking, if you have a single family residence, you're directly contracting with a hauler, where a multifamily tenant, it's not. Their property manager is, and that property manager may not live in the community. So that information flowing from the hauler, that is something that we do rely on for our communication to residents. Is it happening in multifamily? And so we have to be very strategic. We did in our mailer send this out, and within our contamination reduction, like. Kind of like strategic plan is like pretty much solely focused, not solely, but heavily focused on multifamily. Multifamily recycling, should exist in most properties, but it may not still. Organic collection, food waste collection is pretty much non-existent. You might have a few that are doing it. That have unique property management systems and their property manager and the tenants are kind of all on board. That focus for food waste collection is something we're wanting to prioritize for like the next 4 or 5 years, to pilot that and then try to find a good system that would work in this community. So that's kind of a 3 to 5 year focus for us to get food waste collection, but within this law, there is requirements for space allocation for multifamily properties, and that is a big lift. It could result in some code change at the local level, and really all jurisdictions could be doing code change for any major remodel or new build would have to provide adequate space. And the word adequate is fuzzy right now in the law, and so DEQ in March of 27 will be releasing a toolkit for how jurisdictions can comply with this part of the law. We have to have a plan in place by November of 27, and we have to be implementing that plan by July of 28. And so that work is being driven at the state level. And to your point, Alexi, it's really the idea is that like you can't recycle if you have no place to put it in. And so let's make sure that as we build or we renovate, like we make sure that space is there. We make sure it's accessible to children and people that are maybe in a wheelchair. And so we're tracking that very closely. We're also watching what Portland's doing. They're kind of doing a lot of research right now into this very topic because it's an issue in every jurisdiction, what you brought up. And it is a big focus, I would say, for the jurisdictions that are working on RMA and heavily involved and at all the forums and in all the monthly meetings. Like this topic is front of mind.
Yeah, multifamily contamination reduction in particular has been like the nut that the recycling industry has been trying to crack for probably as long as I've been alive, I would say. And there's still not a lot of good information on how to do that. The research that's been done has kind of been inconclusive. Tactics work in some places and not others. And so one of the big motivators of that is that people make different decisions when they have to walk halfway across an apartment complex to take the recycling out versus walking 10 feet to your curb. So there's a lot of unique problems that we have to find solutions to in multi-unit to get recycling behavior change to happen. So we're looking into it right now, but we'll see what we're able to do anytime soon.
Yeah, we're wanting to work with Homes for Good, and we're trying to get them on board with being allotted for funding through contamination reduction funds as well to kind of, again, as our local housing authority, like be able to kind of leverage their connections and kind of experience and kind of make sure that what we're doing is reaching the tenants and kind of leveraging their help to do that.
So I wanna second the suggestions that everyone else made. One thing I did wanna ask about or bring up, the use of AI cameras has been a bit of a hot topic lately.
Yes.
And so was hoping that you all had some talking points or were prepared for questions about more in
Yes.
depth about how those are gonna be used, because I think as the word gets out.
Yes. Yeah, we're currently working with our haulers that are leveraging funds through contamination reduction to get these cameras to make sure one, we know with flock where the issues lie with those, and we're saying how's the data being managed, where's it going, who's seeing it. We're working with our kind of PDD PR team and as well the city's communication team to kind of make sure that they're clear on how this technology is gonna be used and what it's gonna be used for and who's all involved. This was last week, we were just like kind of trying to get out to everyone within the city that can help us develop a communication plan around this. First and foremost, we're thinking it will come from the haulers, and so the ones that are deploying the technology. But we want to make sure that as they press release around this, that they're kind of touching on all the talking points that were contentious with the block cameras, so that it's very clear on what it's going to be used for and why.
Yeah, I mean, the trash is a little less
Sure.
concerning,
Yeah,
but it's also, you know, there's this sort of, I think,
totally.
people being like, wait, why are you taking pictures of my trash?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's. When Emily was like, they're getting word that the cameras are getting installed, I'm like, ooh, like, we need to be. Working with them, the haulers, to make sure that, you know, we're all in alignment with how this is gonna be communicated to the public, so that. It's very clear in the PR and the press release, like, what these are used for. Kind of how the information is flowing and.
We're also not the first jurisdiction to be doing this. Having these smart cameras on recycling trucks, it's where the recycling industry has been headed for a while. It's also one of the recommended strategies from DEQ, so it's not like we're trying to push the envelope or anything and try something innovative. This is just us catching up with the times, pretty much. And it can help us get more tailored messaging out and just make our recycling stream cleaner.
Good question.
I just had one quick comment. I know we only have about 10 minutes for the
Okay.
other two questions, but I just had a question about your ads, the example of the ad that you showed us about the recycling lifestyle. Are there multiple ads like that or just the one?
I believe there's multiple, yeah, they have a whole suite. I'm not sure when they're gonna release them. But they have multiple phases of this plan, and that's phase one. As we get farther into the program and even start the next program plan, they're gonna change it up and get more specific. But all of those are run by CAA, so we don't have super real access to them, but you should be able to find it on recycleon.org/Oregon, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, I've asked if they were on social media, okay. And then just maybe there could be ads about like more about contamination, because that is a real fuzzy area for a lot of people who don't know a lot, but like. Someone, Jan mentioned earlier about like what happens. What are the most common contaminations? Why should they not be there? Because some people need just a little bit more to, you know, to drive their decision making. So that's, yeah. And then is there like a priority of the other two questions that you wanted to throw out there for the last few minutes we have here?
Well, we're just answer them.
Yeah, we could
together
just
if you.
pinball
Okay.
around.
I think there was the question on where to focus funding from the Mirror grant, I think, and then where should the recycling depots be located in Eugene? Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah.
I currently subscribe to a service, it's called Ridwell, you know about that. And they take plastic film, they take plastic wrappers, food wrappers. And all kinds of bags, Amazon, whatever, all that stuff, as well as caps, plastic caps. So there's already organizations that do this. I pay for it, but I really pack, and they come in, they send me a bag that's prepaid and everything, and I pack it all up. I make it really tight and I drop it in the mail. And they make stuff out of it, right? So is there, I mean, we're duplicating other services, why can't we subscribe, you know, the city of Eugene make that service available through this organization? It's a win-win, it's a win-win for that organization if, you know, they have a huge city that's subscribing to their service. I mean, have you discussed these things? Right, I'm paying money right now for that. I mean, if people who want to do that, pay money, it's good for the city, it's good for Waste Mountain.
Yeah.
And for the company.
Do we know where that's going? Where's that Ridwell material going?
We don't know there.
We don't know. Yeah, that's the the
they
transparency.
go someplace, so.
Right, right,
Are we
yeah.
saying it's not true?
No, I'm not saying it's not true. I just think that you're gonna have access to recycling those same materials for free, basically, at the depots that are gonna come up and,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure, and
Yeah.
that's great,
mhm,
but they're not here. The depots aren't here.
yeah, and I'm
Yet.
yet,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they are
One more year?
coming.
Year and a half?
We're hoping by the end of 2027 we'll see our first one. But we'll see how the funding goes for that. We do have to have them in place by 2030, like in statute, so eventually Eugene will have them. We're hoping 2027-ish. Councilor Hutchins.
With the depot question, and I remember correctly, it was something about like, is population density a good way to cite them? The. Who can use the depots?
Anyone.
Anyone? Okay, so like, if I'm county resident, Springfield resident. So in that case, I would think about coordinating with Springfield and Lake County. And looking at the placement, not just from a population density within the city limits kind of vibe, but sort of spread out so that they're like equidistant from everybody. So I think about like particularly the River Road area, where if you're just looking at like Eugene population, it's gonna feel a little less dense because it's a weird glitter situation going on up there.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of coordination would help make it more accessible to everybody, so that you don't have one that's like two that are right next to each other in near the university and
Sure.
like Glenwood, right?
Yeah, I know in the packet, we provided a lot of information. It's like 60 pages or not, but it was a lot. I know within that packet, it did lay out how many depots were allotted to each jurisdiction. So I think there's 6 for Eugene, but Springfield also has their own allotment of. And then I don't know outside if the unincorporated county has an allotment.
Yeah.
So but I appreciate like the coordination. I think we definitely work closely with the Lane County. They typically have a better collaborative effort with Springfield than we do. There's not a waste prevention counterpart in Springfield for us, but the county is kind of our best group to kind of coordinate kind of beyond the city limits to kind of coordinate those efforts. And I know Emily's looked at locations to multifamily housing, because not a lot of people in multifamily housing might have access to vehicles, and also looking at access near transit stops and places where people could take public transportation to access these as being other things to consider within the city.
Yeah, and it's just like as far as spreading them, like density makes sense as like a broad,
Yeah,
let's not put all of them in like
sure.
one area, but within that, there's the near transit, near multifamily,
Yeah,
near other places people might bring their trash.
yeah. Like I know for Portland had some conversations with CAA early on, because CAA wanted, they were going into conversation with New Seasons grocery store to site them in the New Seasons parking lot, and the city of Portland said, hold on. Those always aren't located in, those are kind of more located in affluent, like kind of nicer parts of the town, and so, more inclusive with the locations of these depots, and so they kind of went back to the drawing board there, but so yeah, I think CAA will approach us within the next year and a half on citing these, and that's when the real work will start, but we're hoping to have ideas already ready to kind of help direct locations.
Partly because several of the sites CA has proposed are not even technically within our city limits. They want to put one at Glenwood, one at Bring, and one at EcoSort, which is right next to Glenwood. So we're hoping to have some well thought out plan to negotiate with them a little bit.
Well,
to
those
make
would
it-
be Springfield spots, right?
They would have for both of us, so, but, yeah.
We're technically have a Eugene address, but are annexed by the city of Springfield, so. It's interesting.
Nice happy zone.
Yeah.
Not confusing at all.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. Is there a way to receive information if we think of any other things that people want to share about those questions? Should we just email them? Like, we did, we ran out of time. We didn't get to address all 3 questions, but.
Sure.
Sure, we have our contacts on the last slide of our presentation, so feel free to reach out to either of us. Give us a call. We love talking recycling, so.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to council updates.
So we got back from winter break a week and a half ago, and it has been very busy. The biggest news is that we have selected a new city manager. Her name is Ginny, and I'm not gonna try and pronounce her last name because I will fail. And what? Haruyama. Thank you. And so, we don't have any information about start date or anything like that. Because the council president is currently talking with her about contract and all those details. But someone's been selected, so, and we're really excited about that. Other news, a lot of what we've been working on, library levy is coming up, several conversations surrounding housing and land use. Because there's pretty much always conversations surrounding housing and land use happening. Conversations surrounding fire governance and changes to how we are proposing to sort of run the fire department. So those are some of the things that are coming up. More specific with this committee. We are having some conversations surrounding wastewater and potentially expanding our wastewater network. To go to more places in the county, to go to Short Mountain. We're not proposing to do this. The county is proposing to do this, but they need our permission. So that's some of the conversation that's happening, Crestwell, Junction City, to kind of have a more regional thing. So it's a pretty complex thing.
More regional wastewater treatment.
Wastewater,
Have other jurisdictions wastewater come into our treatment system.
yes, which they would pay for, but.
Sure, naturally.
And so that's a conversation that's happening. Also, we will be talking about the public health standards at the February 17th meeting. And then a week or 2 after that, we'll be talking about our housing energy scores, which I was gonna bring up next time. I didn't write them date down because it was after the next meeting. So, but yeah, so those are some of the things that are going on.
Thank you. Let's see, staff updates?
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna go with the bottom 2 bullets first. So one announcement is that Tom Kreider, who was a commissioner, he's officially resigned from his seat, and so that was he was appointed by Counselor Semple, and so I'm working with Counselor Kaczynski to fill that seat. So that process is moving. The other thing is so the weatherization workshops that Fossil for Eugene is putting on that the commission voted to grant an award to, those are coming up. I had sent an email about it, and it didn't sound like anyone was available for there's 2. One's this Saturday, one is February 4th. And I just I heard from a few people, but they didn't hear back when I was like following up with more details. So who wants to table at those? I just wanted clarification. Who and if it's fairly small. It's 20 to 25 people probably who are gonna be there. But
February 4th time is,
it's in the evening, it's 6 to 8.
yeah, I think I said I could do that one.
Jan? Okay, and I think one person's enough. I don't think we need 2 people, so. Okay. Cool.
Let me think about it. I might be able to go this Saturday too.
You don't have to. We've
Okay.
got, we kind of had it covered to present sort of like that material.
Oh, we're just
Stuff
doing
that are
it
going-
one. They're 2 different groups. of people?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're just presenting once.
well, you're not even presenting, you're just tabling, and I think we've got it covered this Saturday.
Oh, you do? Oh.
Yeah,
I
so,
got it.
Any of those bin lid stickers?
what? Can we get any of those?
Do we still have them?
Yeah, yeah, I've got a whole tote full of all
Great.
kinds of stuff.
Great time.
We went through it today. Okay, and then the last thing is, next month, Parks is coming to the Sustainability Commission. They've finished the TBL analysis of the turf options at Golden Gardens Park. So they'll be presenting, the results of that and looking for your, to review it. So are there any, I guess I wanted to just create this space in today's meeting to, if you want to think through which questions you would like to ask.
What are we gonna see? Cause I wouldn't necessarily know my questions until I see what they say.
Yeah, that's fine. You'll get the report in when I send out the packet the week before. So, and that's fine if you don't have questions now. I mean, that's what you can
I
ask.
mean, I have the same questions as last time, but they said wait till we do the,
Okay. What were they? Can
I
you,
mean,
it was like
turf
across.
is horrible for the environment and pollutes the water and causes all these issues, so. Synthetic turf,
Okay.
well,
Okay, if you think of more questions ahead of time, let me know and I'll get them to the presenters, but you're also welcome that there will be time and space to have this conversation when presenters come.
I just came across a what we call it, journal article, like a scientific meta-analysis. It is only something you can realistically read if you're good at reading those things. Probably a PhD biologist, but I'm not, so I was like, wow, that's quite a thing. But it is a meta-analysis of turf and the breakdown over time of the chemical compounds that artificial turf emits. Like new relevant research in the last couple of weeks that popped up on this thing. I can track that down and send it to someone if that's helpful. Given they've already finished the thing, sure, but it's like, this is not one study, this is many studies tied together. Somebody can read it, I hope. It is robust.
Yeah, so what a question for the presenters maybe be like, how are you incorporating new research since the report has
Right,
been
like, please
published?
check this out. It looks like these chemicals don't just exist now, they also change into new chemicals over time that also have health impacts. That's another dimension, like the time dimension changes things because it doesn't just change, like you decrease concentration of some toxic things as time goes on, but if they change into new toxic things that may not have been considered, because that's new research. So it's like another element to the health impacts that has a different flavor of time impact.
Okay.
So it's an angle that I had not seen in the literature.
Yeah.
So I can send that to Ian and we can say, were you aware of anything like this? I wasn't.
So do you know, Danielle, is it gonna be like, is it just something different or is it gonna be like the format of our last? Remember how there was charts and empty spaces and we were filling it in, and I'm wondering if there's gonna be reference back to that, like what we, like our comments from then,
Yeah.
and then incorporate it into like, how did that meeting, like relate to what they ended up finding, like that would be really helpful to sort of regroup, because that was a great meeting, I think. I don't know if anyone people who were there, it was really, we just really, the format was amazing and the way we were able to give our input, I think, and the way it was heard. It'd be cool to kind of, like, I remember on that chart, and it stood out with me, was one thing was like other options that were, do you remember this? Like, it was empty. It was like not turf and not grass. And it was like, wait and see. There's something in like, it was like in their back pocket or something like that. And I was like, well, what is it? Like, and I'm curious, like, whatever happened to that, like option 3 or something.
Number 3.
Do you remember that?
I think a lot of us need like, more about it, book too. Like the question that keeps coming to me is, okay, so if it's not turf, then what? I don't feel like that's ever been addressed. Like, what are the options? Because if you're trying to have youth and the community at large be able to participate in these type of activities, then how do you do that if it's not more of an all-weather surface? And then what does that actually cost? That's one of the questions I have too, like, well, is anybody actually spending any time on this? Like, I mean, my whole childhood, we just dealt with what you had, right, which was dirt and grass. I'm not confident that turf is better even for athletics and with all the injuries and things like that, but what is the alternative? It never gets presented. All it gets presented is here's this. But it doesn't seem like we actually,
So well, and I'm not the lead on this, so I don't feel super, like, I'm not the lead on this project, but, there were 3 different options that they
Yeah.
looked at, natural grass, and then I believe 2 different types of artificial turf. And for each of those 3 options, they looked at a bunch of different factors that the commission helped to generate, like, what are the list of factors that we should look at for each of these turf types, so injury risk, impact on endangered turtles, like all these different factors, waste, life cycle. And so those aspects they've now filled in that chart.
okay,
And so that's what they'll be coming back with.
okay, that'd be good. It just seems like that part's been, at least for me, it's been shallow.
And I mean, I guess a question could be. Cause it kind of came up then, it's like, so if turf is a choice, like what there, we always bring up the recycling, there's not really a way to, what do you do with the old turf when you replace it? That's really even like next nastiest thing is putting it in the landfill, right?
And it's typically replaced quicker than we think. Like Lane just replaced one of their athletic fields, right? And it's always a shorter time span, same thing with high schools. Like they're told, oh, it's gonna be good for this long, it's never good for that long. So if they actually want to stay healthy to use on it, because it wears out quicker, because the whole communities, then it's always quicker than we think too. It's hard because you need it, and part of me thinks, we didn't have that when I played, I mean. Granted, I'm old enough, I played on Austin Stadium and it was a little piece of plastic over cement, so that was fun.
Well, this is a useful conversation, I think, just to get the juices flowing on what kind of thoughts and questions you have. This was a topic that came up last year, and I think there's new commissioners who weren't there when that came up, so.
Right,
yeah.
What is the
So-
report on its, you just said it.
It's evaluating different turf options
The
for the
factors.
field at,
Okay.
the sports fields at Golden Gardens Park.
We're supposed to adjourn in like 2 minutes
Yeah.
to extend the meeting just to hear the any updates, or how long? Do we need to look to extend the meeting like 5 minutes or
That's fine. I mean, it's up to you guys.
5? Okay. Anyone move to,
I move to extend for 5 minutes.
all in favor? Okay. All right, so are we good? That,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, think of other comments, thoughts, questions, email them to me and I'll get them to Carolyn.
Thank you. Committee updates and commissioner updates.
You want me to do because Courtney's not here? You want
Yeah,
me to do
sure.
it? Okay, so. The triple bottom line, like work group met and I am not the chair. That was a win. But Courtney is, and we voted her and I can be backup for her if she needs it. And so that'll be great. We really, I'm trying to remember what we did. A lot of it was that, and a lot of it was sort of just jumping around and having conversations about how we wanted to do things and what we were gonna do. And I'm mixing there were like 2 meetings like right in a row. I'm mixing them together. So really, I think one of the things that was talked about very briefly was like creating a document that could go in orientation materials that is really more geared toward getting all commissioners up to speed on the triple bottom line and how it's used by the city of Eugene. So everybody gets that when they join. and you're able to look that over. And then also, another idea that was floated that seemed pretty cool actually was like before, maybe having. Either it goes out in the agenda in some way, or there's, I'm never for like pieces of paper being passed out. That's not my favorite sustainability commission thing. But some sort of, maybe it's like something like this. Where we reuse it over and over, that just says some like basic framework of like, before we hear a presentation, let's all just like take a second and review like the basic framework, the triple bottom line, so it's in our minds when we're listening to a presentation. Am I giving this the right? Okay. And a way to sort of add a little bit more structure to like maybe our discussions following a presentation. Not necessary, but like, I'm not saying it's necessary, just like a way to sort of go, hey, are we all thinking about the triple bottom line when we're hearing all the things that we hear? So that's that.
Thank you.
The sustainable building materials committee met, and we had two presenters, one, and please jump in, people there. One was about a legislation that's moving forward to try to make it more viable to use like salvaged lumber. And that's a ongoing process because we go into the international building code, but Eugene is involved. And the other was about what cities are already doing around concrete and asphalt and carbon reduction. Those were really interesting.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you.
And then for education and outreach, I guess what we talked about was how, first of all, how we can make what the commission does like more efficient in terms of education and outreach. So like right now with tabling, sometimes it's an issue, especially over the summer when we don't have enough commissioners to go to all of these events that we identify. So like maybe picking a few that we want to go to for sure at the start of each year. And then in terms of outreach materials, looking at, I think like how we can do some more different targeted outreach that's not tabling. So like Devin was talking about like having blurbs in like neighborhood newsletters, I think. Yeah, and then like maybe something short to go on the website. Oh, and then also getting updates from the projects that we get, that we give funding to, and seeing if we can get that highlighted somewhere.
I just wanted to acknowledge Jan, who's represented the Sustainability Commission in the interviews for the city manager, and I wanted to thank you for that. Neither Alexia or I were available, and want to see if we have 2 minutes left, if you wanted to talk about that.
Well, I just thought it was interesting to be a part of the process. I appreciated doing it. It was a little, I would say, it was kind of nominal in a way. I mean, there wasn't enough time to review materials ahead of time or, anything. So it was nice to be included. I thought there were good candidates, and I think the city is lucky. I think we have, she seems good, so I'm looking forward to seeing her in action.
I just want to say thank you for doing that, and it was very helpful.
Oh, good. It's all good. I'm glad to hear that. It's hard to know how it all fit in together.
And I was gonna say, I believe, and Councilor Krasinski can correct me, but there was a sustainability question from council for each one of the candidates. So there's an opportunity to actually go look at what the city manager said in their position and their thoughts about that.
That's good. Yeah, I didn't get to watch.
Oh, there was.
So there, we had 2 interviews
In the public session.
in the public session. I don't think it was like as direct.
Okay.
Yeah, there
So
was.
they all touched on it, but it wasn't like.
There was one in the way the questions were structured for the boards and commissions panel, there was a question that addressed sustainability to some extent, so that was good. They kind of covered the territory that of the boards and commissions, the human rights and budget, police and all of that, so.
Well, thank you for being there, representing us. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, I think we, perfect timing, meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much. 6:50 on the dot. Yeah, we'll see you on February 18th, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, for our next month's meeting. And we will look forward to that. Thank you.